Welcome back to the Workbench. Today we're building the 1990 edition of AMT's 68 Ford Shelby GT-500. This kit has been recently reissued. It has a different color car on the box art, but it's still basically the same car. This one here, of course, comes with the Cobra Jet engine, 428 Cobra Jet engine. There's over 120 parts in this kit. This was featured on my Flea Market Haul video back a while ago. Just now getting around to putting it together. So let's take a look at the parts. First up is that Shelby Mustang body. Now, this being an older kit, I expect to see some flash as normal. That's a normal thing. And there is a little bit there, but it's not too horrible for being a older kit. Notice that it's not totally white. The body's kind of got a little yellow hint to it, and I suspect that's due to age. This kit was an unsealed box. Somebody had gone into it. All the bags and everything inside were sealed, so everything is here. Next up is your interior tub and your chassis. Got seat backs you have to put in. I suppose you could probably put those in a down position if you wanted. I don't know, we'll have to look at that in the instruction sheet. Not much to see there. We'll just put that over there. Here's your chassis, kind of plain. It does have some detail to it though, but it's kind of plain. But that'll all change once you start building. Ooh, get back in there. There we go. Now, when I open up the bag, I had a ton of loose parts. Here's one of the seat options. This is one of the custom seats. Seems a little weirdly shaped. Here's your stock seat. The other custom seat. Some wheel backs. And I'm guessing that's a spare tire cover. Your front fascia. The lower front fascia. Your radiator support wall, 2-part headers. I'm assuming the fourth piece is still on the tree. These look to be like stock exhaust manifolds. Now let's look at what's on the trees. Here's your engine block. And I'm guessing this is a one-piece console, and yeah, that looks about right. Odd. We'll figure it out as we go. This next one's got your firewall and your dash, your rear fascia, your side scoops, hood scoops. Here's your hood and a different styled rear fascia. Am I pronouncing that right? I don't know. Stock steering wheel. Looks like your mufflers, and this I assume goes on your, if you wanted to block out that rear seat, you'd put this piece in there, so you just make it a 2-seater. Another console. Your exhaust system and rear suspension. And front suspension. Here's that rear seat back and the fourth piece for your headers and the other stock seat. Next up is your chrome trees, plural. There's 2 of them. Some engine parts mostly on that one. And here's your front and rear bumpers and taillights and what have you, rear bumper. I like these wheels. I think I'm going to go with these 5-spoke mags over these stock wheels. If I have an option for a 5-spoke mag, I will go for the 5-spoke mag first. Some more engine parts here. I don't know why they chrome engine parts. It just doesn't make sense to me, because I don't know about you, I haven't seen very many stock cars from the factory with chrome parts on the engine. But there's a first time for everything, I suppose. Okay, in this bag that the previous owner thoughtfully put the tires in. So we have 2 slicks and 4 street tires. They're Goodyear tires. 1 metal axle. Next up is your decal sheet. These look kind of yellow. They might be a little too brittle to be used. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Hopefully they'll come off of here with no problems. Next thing is the direction sheet, and this thing is rather big. Not used to having them this large. I'm not going to open that all the way up. I don't have enough room. Not in front of the camera anyway. And last but not least, the ever popular subscribe to the Blueprinter. Does anybody know? This is no longer available, I'm sure, because I've not seen anything about the Blueprinter for a long time. I think that was an Ertl thing. So, yeah. I never subscribed to it, but I know a bunch of you guys out there have. Maybe. Oh, and I forgot. Your one-piece glass. Looks like it was short-shotted, though. Weird. Normally, I like to keep these inside the plastic bag until I need them. But this one was kind of free-floating in the box. So it does have some rub marks on it. I don't know if you can see those or not. But, yeah, there's some rub marks on the glass. I'll just see if I can get that out. Maybe put a... dip it into some future floor polish. That usually clears that kind of stuff up. Alright, let's get started with some cleanup, because there is a little bit of flash. Get some cleanup done and some sub-assemblies, and I'll see you at the paint booth. Okay, fellas, I've been asked a bunch of questions over the last couple of videos, how important it is to use primer, or whether or not you have to use primer before you do your top coats. And one of my replies to that question was, well, you don't necessarily have to use primer depending on what kind of paint you're using. If you're using, say, Tamiya or Testors spray paint right out of the can, you don't necessarily have to use primer, but I recommend that you do use primer. And let me show you why. I don't know if I can get the camera to focus on this, and I'm going to try. When you do a coat of primer, the primer does a couple of things. One, it gives your top coat something to grab onto, because styrene plastic is notoriously slick. So, let me grab a pointer stick here so I can point this out. Things like, see where I'm pointing there? I don't know if I can get the camera to focus. Well, that is a dimple. I didn't see that prior to the priming, but as soon as the primer hit it, it magnified it. As well as a smaller one right about here on this side. Also, I also noticed there's some mold lines right there that, oh, let me get the camera up here, right? There's some mold lines right there that I need to take care of. So it's those little flaws that stand out when you put your primer coat on. See, here's a little bit more of the mold line, and here, that's very dramatic. So yeah, those are the things that the primer coat will bring out that you didn't see right out of the box. Yeah, I did see a few. There was some back in here that I took care of already on each side. But this one up here and those dimple marks, I did not see those at all until the primer coat went on. So I think that it doesn't matter what kind of paint you're using. You should always prime, because that little dimple right there can be the difference between an average paint job or an epic one. Okay, fellas, the way I fix things like those dimples, I go through and I get all that paint removed back out of the dimple, and I take that back down to bare plastic. Now, there's a lot of guys that have a plethora of ways to fix these kind of things. I happen to like to use the Evercoat spot putty, Everglaze. Now, I've had this tube probably 20 years, and I don't think I've used a tenth of it. It is getting a little sketchy, but it still works. So let's get a little dab of the putty onto the surface there. And for this, I'm just going to use a toothpick, because I don't need very much. Just need enough to basically fill in that little hole. So I'm just going to put a glob on here. I'm going to smooth it out best I can. This stuff is very old, very dry. It still works, it still hardens up, and you're still able to sand it. but it's a little harder to work with. Okay, I got a little too much here, but that's all right. Some of the oil in this putty worked its way back up to the top, so I got a little of that. I'll put a little over here. Okay. Now, when you're filling in little dimples like that, you're going to want to build it up a little bit so that you can sand it back down. If you don't put enough, you're still going to have a dimple there, only it's going to be partially filled with filler. And then you're going to end up having to... Oops, sorry, I hit you guys. Sorry. Anyway, as I was saying, if you don't put enough in there, then you're going to still have a dip and you're going to have to redo it. So I'm just going to let this set for a little bit. I'm going to come back and sand it. Once it's cured, I think it takes maybe an hour. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been a while since I read the directions on this, so... Yeah, you can even put this over primer. I always just kind of take it back down to bare plastic, but you can put this stuff over primer. And drying time is rapid, but depends on thickness of coating. Okay, every glaze can be feather edged easily. Yeah, it doesn't say exactly, but we'll give it an hour or two, or maybe even overnight. We'll come back to this and with a sanding stick and take care of that problem area there. I did knock down this edge a little bit, and as you can see on the corners, I did kind of take care of those lines that were there too. So let's have this set up and we'll get it sanded down. Okay, fellas, I didn't show any of the painting of the interior. It's quite lengthy and I'm still not really 100% finished with it. As you can see in the background here, those are all of the colors that I used. It's toffee, teddy bear tan, real brown, gloss black, tester silver, and this Delta Ceram Coat flat black. So as you can see, that's how the interior looks. And I'm going to give you a close-up of the dash. Hopefully it'll focus. Let's put it in my hand here. There we go. There's a lot of detail painting in the dash. I don't normally do dashes very well, but that one there I think I did a pretty good job on. So let me finish this all up. I'm going to throw a coat of future floor polish on this when it's done, because these are all flat paints, words, except for the silver and the gloss black, obviously, and oh, and the real brown is gloss as well, but the two main colors are matte. So I want to have a little bit of shine in here, so I'm going to throw a coat of future floor polish in there, just kind of shine it up a bit. And we'll get on to the body. I still have to lay down my top coats on that after filling in the dimples and repriming. So let me get this done and we'll get on to the paint booth for the top coat. Okay, fellas, just to give you a quick update, I've got the interior done. I put a coat of floor polish on that just to give it a little bit of a sheen. So that's done. Now, I didn't show any of this, and I'm sorry, but all the chassis is done, the wheels and tires, engine, the whole 9 yards. All I have to do on this is the exhaust pipes that come out back here from the muffler, but everything else is completed. And next is the body, and we're waiting for that to paint to cure on that. A little bit of touch up on this yet, but I'll get that before final assembly and to the final. All right, guess what time it is? It's bare metal foil time. Okay, fellas, I've got the bare metal foil all completed. I don't know if you can really see that in the camera, but it's all done. So now it's time to install the windows. This should be pretty easy, pretty straightforward, because this is a one-piece glass. I'm gonna clean it real quick because I got fingerprints all over it. I don't know how they got there, but they're there nonetheless. Now a lot of guys would take this glass and cut it up into individual pieces to put it in, and you can do that. I mean, you can do anything you want. It's your kit, your build. But if it's one piece, I like putting it in one piece. Okay. Getting it in here and getting it to seat in the right spot is going to be a little tricky. So I'm going to have to do multiple glue spots in this. One thing I like about the Mod Podge is if you have to use a little bit more glue than you really want to, it's fine because it's not going to eat the plastic like standard, you know, model glue, tube glue, whatever. Let that sit for a little bit. I'm gonna have to hold it. And then I'm gonna have to come back here and glue back here and hold it and do the same thing on the front. Put a little on this side as well. All right. Okay. Let me get this finished up and I'll be right back. Okay, fellas, here we are. The 68 Ford Shelby GT-500 is done. This was an extremely fun build. I was really kind of shocked that the paint went down with no issues whatsoever. And it turned out really, really, really well. The paint that I used is Folk Art Pastel Green Color Shift. I went with a tan interior. It looks pretty good, I think, at least. I did have some problems with this hood and the fitment issues. According to the directions, I was supposed to be able to use the stock Cobra air cleaner and the dual quad carburetor setup, but when you use that, the hood won't close properly, and so you get this little gap there. I even went in and ground down the carburetors to about half their thickness and still couldn't get it down all the way. It was having trouble staying closed all the way when there was no engine in the compartment anyway. When it was just the body, I had trouble getting that to close down. So I'm thinking that the hood may have had a little bit of warp in it. That may be the problem. So, but before I ground down those carburetors, the hood wouldn't even close halfway. The air cleaner was definitely blocking it. So here we go. It's all done. What do you guys think about it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments section. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you. I really appreciate your subscription. If you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? I got plenty of content coming. I got plenty of content, good content on the channel already. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that subscribe button. Maybe about 10 seconds of your time. Alright, well, thank you for watching Scale Auto Guy's Workbench, and I'll see you on the next build.